Hi, good afternoon everyone. This is Mohan, and in today's webinar, we are going to learn how to process payroll, how to set up your payroll as per whatever has been followed in your organization, how to put all the information, all the details into Kredily. That's what we are going to learn in today's webinar. And if you have any questions on how to do the setup, your PFESI, your salary structure, you can write in your questions. I will be taking all of your questions after this webinar. And also, before we start, I would request all of you to download Kredily's mobile application. You can go to the Play Store and type Kredily, and you will get Kredily's application mobile app. Please download it. You can use everything that I'm going to show in today's webinar on your mobile application as well. So that's highly recommended. Uh, with that, let us start today's webinar. Uh, as this webinar is going to be about payroll, let us go to the payroll module. Right. The very first thing is the advanced settings. We are going to add all of our settings, everything that we have in our organization in terms of statutory salary structure. We are going to put that in the system. Now, the very first thing is your payroll settings itself. So under that, we have pay frequency, which is going to be, just give me 1 second here. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah. So the very first thing is your pay frequency, which is going to be monthly. And then you can change your pay cycle, your payout date, your date of joining cutoff, everything as per your preference. And then you can turn on the weekly off option in your payroll, and the same goes with holidays as well. And if you're an organization who does not include holidays and weekly off, you can turn it off or you can keep it on. Then you can allow your employees to see their tax projections and tax computation. This also depends on your preference. It's just a yes or no option. So keep it on or keep it off. Then comes the most important statutory component, which is your PF and ESI. In PF, the system will give you an option to define PF as per your organizational preference. Whatever has been followed so far in your company can be defined in Kredily. You can say 12% of basic, 12% of the entire gross salary except HRA. You can add a fixed amount or you can define your own formula. So in this, I'm just going to keep it 12% of basic, which is followed by most organizations in India. Then you can you can enable the statutory minimum option as well. If you enable this, the PF is only going to be 1,800 rupees, regardless of how much your basic salary gets to. And then you can make it loss of pay dependent or loss of pay independent. Then you can include the employer's PF contribution in the CTC. You can allow the individual override for PF, and I recommend that you keep this option on. And lastly, you can include or exclude the admin charges of PF in the employee CTC. Save the changes. And the next option is your ESI settings. So ESI settings, there's nothing much to play around in ESI settings because ESI is going to be the standard, which is 0.75% for an employee and 3.25% for an employer. This is going to be on the 21,000 rupees of gross salary. You can either include it or exclude it from the CTC, and you can turn on the override option. Again, it's recommended that you keep it on. And in overview tab, you get an option to edit or define PF for a particular employee differently. So for that, you can click on the edit button and you can define your PF. You can manually override it, put the PF number, UAN number, and everything else here. And if you want to do it manually, just click on the import button, download the Excel sheet, and upload the Excel sheet back in the same section. And the next option is your PT settings. So in PT settings, you will get an option to turn on or turn off your professional tax, and you don't have to remember the PT amount for a particular state or a few states that you might be having branches in. Just turn it on and make sure that you're adding work location for your employee, and Kredily will take care of the rest. It will calculate professional tax accurately for your employees. Then the next option is your declaration settings. This is where you will define the income tax declaration window for your employees. You can choose the time, either monthly or yearly. and apply it to your employees so that your taxable employees can declare their the investment declarations and submit their documents. And the next option is your components option. Here we have four different components. Base components, which are the statutory components, which are going to be there in every salary structure. The next is your recurring salary components. Here is where you can create any number of components that you need for your organization. But Kredily has already created the components that are required by most of the companies. But if you want to create another one, there is no limit, no restrictions. There's no cap on the number of components that can be created in Kredily. Just click on the create component option and create it. Now, once the component is created, you can add this in the salary structure. Or before that, if you want to edit any existing component or define a new component, just create a component or go inside the existing component. You can even change the name. You can change the component type. You can include or exclude it from the CTC. You can make it either taxable or non-taxable. You can make it an individually overridden component or a non-overridden component. You can make it LOB dependent or independent. And you can define the value for that component. You can either keep it flat and enter a flat value. You can even formulate it like this, 10% of CTC, or just put a fixed value. And if you want to put it slab wise, just select slab wise and define your slab. For example, if the slab is between 0 to 3 lakhs, how much should be the value of this component? I'll say this value should be 10,000 bucks. Then if the salary is between 3 lakhs to 7 lakhs, then the value of this component should be 20,000 bucks. So like this, you can create your slabs and put the value for your component. Likewise, you can create any number of variable components as well, like your festival bonus, Diwali, Dashera bonus, Christmas bonus, New Year bonus, whatever bonus you want to add. Let me take a standard example of annual bonus here. If you say annual bonus, you get an option to include it or exclude it from CTC, make it taxable or non-taxable, and should the tax deduct on that very month, or should it be distributed across the rest of the financial year, that you can select. As this is an annual bonus, I am making the pay frequency as annual, and when I make it as annual, you will get an option to choose the month in which this component should get added in the salary structure. If this is half yearly, so every 6 months starting from the month that you are going to mention, this component gets added in the salary structure. If it is quarterly, every 3 months. If it is monthly, this component will get added every month in the salary structure. So I'm going to keep it annual. Again, the definition of the component, you can either make it a flat component by entering a fixed value or a formulated value, or you can keep it a slab-wise component as well. Then you can also create any number of ad hoc components, ad hoc earning and ad hoc deduction components. Ad hoc, if you don't already know about it, ad hoc components are the components which are not defined in the structure, which is not defined in the CTC. These components, I would call it out of the box component, because this is something that even you as an HR administrator will not know about. You will only know this as and when you're giving this to your employees. There might be earning components and deduction components as well. There's no limit to create them. You can create any number of ad hoc components in the system. Then the next option is your payout settings. This is where you can add your employees' bank account details. Either go to the employee profile, click on edit and add the bank details, or just import it through an Excel sheet. Then you can choose the payslip format. We have 8 different payslip formats. You can choose any one of the payslip formats which suits the best for your organization. And then comes your bank integration option. This is a very important and a very handy feature that is introduced by Kredily. Now you can integrate your bank account with Kredily. If you have an ICICI bank account, you can directly integrate your ICICI corporate account. If you don't use an ICICI corporate account, Kredily is going to give you a virtual banking account, which we call as KredPay. You can add KredPay as a beneficiary in any of your corporate bank accounts, transfer the money to your virtual wallet, and disburse salary through Kredily directly. And this will happen almost instantly. It would only take about a couple of minutes for you to release your salary. And what we are trying to achieve here is a hassle-free process of paying salary to your employees, avoiding multiple OTPs to be entered, avoiding multiple file sharing that happens between your organization and the bank, and avoiding a lot of confusion between the teams while processing salary is what we are trying to achieve. Or I would say we have already achieved that with all the companies that are using Kredily's bank integration option, a hassle-free payroll processing, which happens in less than 2 minutes time every month. Just one click and salary goes to your employee's bank account, just like that. Please do call us, contact us if you want to know more about this. And once this is done, you can go to set a payroll, go to create salary structure, and create a salary structure that is needed. You can create any number of structure by just clicking on the create new structure option. Okay, and then sorry. So always select regular structure if you are creating a structure for your full-time employees. If you are creating structure for your part-time employees or contract employees, you can select contract salary structure. That will only include two components. One is your professional fee or freelancing fee, stipend, whatever you want to call it, then your TDS deduction. Now I'm creating this salary structure. You can add all of the components that you need or that you have created. All components will be visible here. Let me add medical allowance, and let me add conveyance. So this is the salary structure I have. You can add any number of components and create it and then assign it to your employees. If you go to assign salary structure, you can select your employees and assign salary structure from here. So in this case, I have already assigned salary structure for all of my employees, but if you want to assign structure, just select your employee. You can individually select them or select all of them, or select according to location wise, select according to designation. You can select them and just click on assign structure, select the structure, give it an effective date and assign it. That's it. And once the salary structure is assigned to your employees, go to your overview, go to your run payroll, and the overview will display you the entire salary sheet or the structure or the salary details that you should know as an HR administrator. So this is the salary details for the month of October. Total 8 employees. This is the income tax I'm deducting. This is the gross pay I'm paying. This is the PF I'm deducting. This is the net pay I'm paying, PT, everything. And also it will show you the attendance and leave details, as in how many employees are present, how many are absent, for how many days they are present, how many loss of pay should be considered. Everything will be shown by the system. You don't have to do anything manually. System will let you know all the details that you should know as an HR administrator before you process payroll. And here, as you can see, I'm able to see all of my employees details and how many days they are absent, how many loss of pays have been implied on these employees. If you want to change it, just click the edit button and you can make changes to the number of employees that you want to imply for your employees. The same way, you can also look at the leaves that has been applied, rejected, approved, pending for your employees. In this case, I have one rejected leave and one approved leave for this month. It will also show the salary revision that has happened in the organization for the month of October. So I have increased salary for this employee, a 22% salary hike. If you have not done this, or if you think this is not right, you can go back and make the changes as per your preference. And it will also show the variable salary components, the variable components that are added to the salary structure in the month of October will be shown to you by the system. And you can also add ad hoc salary structure from right here. Go to ad hoc, add your employee, add the component, put the value and save it. Okay, and like this you can add any number of ad hoc components. And then salary on hold option will give you an option to hold your employee salary if in case you have employees who are absconding, you have employees who are not updating you about their salary details, and if you want to hold salaries for them for any given reason, you can click on add employee, select the employee's name, and make their salary status as on hold. I'm not going to do anything right here, just demonstrating this to you. But if you want to know, I have already held this employee's salary, Aruna Dhawan. And the last option is your tax override. This is where you get an option to override taxes for your employees. As you can see, I have overridden Varun's income tax as 2,771. Sorry, as 1,000 rupees. 2,771 is the YTD value of income tax for this employee Varun, and it is also showing income tax and the YTD of income tax for all of your taxable employees. But if you want to make any changes to income tax, which you should not, or which you don't have to, because system will precisely calculate income tax and professional tax, but for whatever reason if you want to do it, you can make changes to the tax deduction and to the professional tax deduction. And once all of it is done, go to pay register. This is your salary sheet. Select your employees. You can select all of them, or you can select only a couple of them, or you can select department wise or designation wise, and you can process payroll for them. So now I'm selecting only the first two employees, and I'm processing payroll for the first two employees. For the remaining employees, I'm going to come back a little later, maybe tomorrow or day after, and I'm going to process payroll for them a little later. This is called as batch processing. This is a very handy feature if you would like to process payroll according to branches, according to departments, or according to any other criteria that you might have. The first two employees payroll has been processed. You can generate pay slips also in batches. Now first two employees, I'm selecting them and generating pay slips for them. There you go. The pay slips have been generated for the first two employees. So this blue icon indicates, sorry, just hold on, it's just my internet. This blue icon indicates that the payslip have been generated. Once that is done, just go to the payout option, select your employee, and do the payout from right here. You don't have to share any file to your bank. You don't have to call your bank. You don't have to send reports to anybody. From Kredily itself, select your employees and hit the payout button, and salary gets credited to your employee in a couple minutes, not more than that. It's almost instant. That's why I said this is one of the coolest and greatest feature introduced by Kredily. I mean, this is one of the coolest feature for any HRMS if you ask me. So if you have any questions on how to integrate this, feel free to contact us. I'll be more than happy to assist you on it. So this is how easy it gets to do the setup and to do the payroll and to do the payout. It hardly took me 18 minutes on this call to upload all my information and to process payroll. And this is with the setup. But if the setup is already done, it would take about 5 minutes for you to process payroll and do the payout. So that's it. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Please write your questions, and I'll be taking your questions from now.